Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Health. Does he stand by all his statements in relation to health services?
The Honourable Tony Ryall.
Mr. Speaker, yes, including the statement that despite the world's worst economic crisis since the 1930s, this government is determined to protect and grow the New Zealand Public Health Service.
Dr. Paul Hutchison.
To the Minister. What additional resources are being invested in public health services this year?
The Honourable Tony Ryall.
Mr. Speaker.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, I didn't have a chance to complete it. May I complete the question?
I beg your pardon.
What additional resources?
Order. I say to the Honourable Member, I apologise to him. I invite him to start the question again. There's the confusion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What additional resources are being invested in public health services this year, and how does this compare on a GDP basis with previous years?
The Honourable Tony Ryall.
Mr. Speaker, this year the government is funding Vote Health an additional operating budget of $512 million, bringing it to a total of over $13.5 billion every year. Members will know that the budget projects an increasing GDP next year. I can advise the member that the health budget for next year, and indeed for the current financial year, is the largest percentage of GDP ever spent on health in New Zealand. And that is to say, Mr. Speaker, and members opposite will want to note, this government is investing a greater share of the economy in the public health service than any previous government in the history of this country.
The Honourable Ruth Dyson.
How will thousands of older New Zealanders...
The Honourable Ruth Dyson, I apologise, member, I couldn't hear the start of a question. She may start again.
How will thousands of older New Zealanders who are already struggling with cuts to their home help view his budget, where district health boards received $200 million less in additional funds under his watch, and all those older people want is $30 a week home help, and it's being cut?
The Honourable Tony Ryall.
Mr. Speaker, I would say to those old people that the government is putting $512 million extra into the health budget when that member opposite projected $330. Mr. Speaker, DHBs will spend a record amount on home care in the next year. 65,000 to 70,000 people receive home support services each year. Each year, around 15,000 people either start or finish receiving support services in their homes. Some receive it for short periods to recover from an operational illness. Others may cease receiving home care and go into a rest home. Mr. Speaker, DHBs are planning to spend a record amount on home care next year.
Dr. Paul Hutchison.
What does the government expect to see as a result of this budget's commitment to protecting and growing the public health service?
The Honourable Tony Ryall.
Mr. Speaker, the government is determined to get the best possible value for every dollar put into the New Zealand Public Health Service. The government expects to see more elective surgery for New Zealanders, faster emergency departments in our hospitals, and better cancer treatment for New Zealand men and women. And in addition, district health boards are putting more money into home support both this year and next year.
The Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Speaker, how can he justify his statements boasting about his health budget when Nelson and Marlborough residents have just been told that $1.51 million will be slashed from their mental health services, frontline health services, in a move described by locals as a mass dumping of the most vulnerable?
The Honourable Tony Ryall.
Mr. Speaker, the budget for mental health will be increasing by $174 million over the next 4 years. What we've learnt in this House is the claims that member opposite makes have to be checked.
Question number 8.